You think a kid like that needs 2 attack dogs? The officer sneered, gripping her taser as the boy stood frozen beside his leashes. Put the candy back, thug. It happened at a sunny Easter event. A 9-year-old black boy arrested over a piece of candy, with his 2 loyal German shepherds growling at the injustice. What no one knew. His dad was undercover watching everything. This isn't just a story about racism. It's about bravery, truth, and what happens when hate gets exposed. If this made your blood boil, hit subscribe and tell us your thoughts in the comments. Your voice matters. It was one of those perfect spring mornings in Crest Hill Park. The kind where parents sipped coffee from paper cups, children shrieked with laughter near bounce houses, and pastel-colored eggs dotted the grass like candy-coated landmines. Birds chirped lazily overhead, and the air smelled faintly of cotton candy and sunscreen. The annual Easter Sunday event was in full swing. Booths lined with caramel popcorn, balloon animals, and of course the centerpiece of it all, the Easter Bunny handing out candy under a white gazebo draped in silk streamers. 9-year-old Mullick Briggs stood in line clutching 2 bright blue leashes, each attached to a large German shepherd. Blaze, the taller one, walked with a slow, precise gait, his ears alert but relaxed. Thunder, slightly smaller but stockier, stayed close to Mullick's side, sniffing curiously at the grass. "Are they friendly?" a little girl behind him asked, eyeing the dogs nervously. "They're trained," Mullick said simply, not looking back. His voice was soft, respectful, like he was reciting something his dad had told him 1,000 times. He wore khakis and a white polo shirt with a small clip-on tie that kept shifting in the wind. His eyes scanned the crowd with a maturity that didn't match his age. He wasn't looking for candy. He was looking for someone. Or maybe just watching everything. He didn't know yet. "Next," called the lady in bunny ears at the front of the line. Mullick stepped forward. The man in the full Easter Bunny suit extended a gloved hand toward a basket filled with chocolate eggs and marshmallow chicks. Mullick reached for 2 pieces, hesitated, then picked one, a caramel egg. He smiled, nodded politely, and turned to leave. That's when he heard her. "Hold it right there." The voice sliced through the cheerful noise like a buzzsaw. Mullick froze. Blaze and Thunder turned their heads simultaneously. A white female police officer approached from the side of the gazebo, hand resting near her taser. Her nameplate read K. Rachel. She didn't smile. "Empty your pockets," she demanded. "I didn't take anything," Mullick said, confused. "Don't play smart. I saw you grab more than 1 piece. You think just because it's Easter you get a pass. Not on my watch." Several parents turned their heads. 1 or 2 kids went quiet. "But I only took 1 look." Mullick held up his single caramel egg. "Sure you did," she sneered. "And I'm the tooth fairy. Empty your pockets, now." Thunder let out a low, vibrating growl. Blaze took 1 step forward. "Back," Mullick whispered, and both dogs froze in place. Rachel narrowed her eyes. "Where did you get these dogs? They're not exactly poodles." "They're mine," Mullick answered. "Well, my dad's. But they stay with me. Too dangerous for a kid. Are they even registered? Who trained them? Some street gang?" That was the moment when the crowd began to murmur. A few cell phones went up. Parents started to inch closer, not quite sure what they were watching. "I said empty your pockets!" Rachel barked again. Mullick looked around. His hands trembled as he turned out the pockets of his khakis. A piece of lint, a tiny rubber dinosaur, and a folded paper napkin fell out. Rachel didn't care. She reached out and grabbed Mullick by the arm. "You're coming with me." "Theft, disorderly conduct, possibly harboring aggressive animals." "No," Mullick yelped, trying to pull away. "I didn't steal anything." Blaze growled louder this time. Thunder braced his stance, chest rising with heavy breaths. "Control your animals." Rachel snapped, yanking Mullick's wrist higher. "1 more sound from these mutts, and I'll have animal control out here in 5 minutes. That's when the Easter Bunny stepped forward. "Let go of my son," said the voice behind the mask. Everyone stopped. The bunny removed his headgear slowly. Underneath wasn't some mall staffer or hired teen. It was a tall black man in full military posture, eyes sharp and voice sharper. "Captain Shaquille Briggs," he said, flashing a badge from inside his vest. "United States Special Investigations Division." Rachel's face went pale. I didn't know. He never said." "You never asked," Captain Shaquille cut her off. "Instead, you profiled a child, manhandled him, and threatened him based on nothing but your assumptions. I thought he stole candy." "He had 1 piece," Shaquille said, his voice low but lethal. And I watched 2 white kids before him take 5 each. You said nothing to them? People in the crowd nodded. Some even murmured in agreement. I didn't see them, Rachel insisted. You saw what you wanted to see, Shaquille said. And now, everyone else sees it too. Rachel's hand slowly dropped from her taser. But the damage was done. The video was already being live-streamed. The department's internal affairs would have more than enough. Captain Shaquille knelt beside Malik, checking his wrist. Blaze and Thunder hovered protectively. You okay, son? Malik nodded, fighting back tears. I remembered the commands. I didn't let them bite. You did perfect, Shaquille said. You did brave. Rachel turned to walk away, but Shaquille wasn't finished. One more thing, Officer Rachel. This whole event, this entire Easter setup, was authorized by my unit, as part of a field investigation. Her steps stopped cold. You were being watched. You were given an opportunity to prove the reports wrong. Instead, you confirmed every single one. You set me up? No, Shaquille said. You set yourself up. We just gave you the stage. And with that, the Easter Bunny handed his badge to one of the nearby officers. Blaze barked once, short, firm and final. Rachel stood frozen, her jaw tight, her eyes darting from the crowd to Captain Shaquille and back again. Her fingers twitched near her belt, hovering in uncertainty between her taser and radio. Around her, the once playful atmosphere had dissolved into a tense, breathless stillness. Parents clutched their children closer. Some began whispering into phones, others just stared. The festive decorations now felt ironic, streamers swaying like they were mocking the scene. I've given you a direct order, Shaquille said again, standing tall, every inch the commanding officer he was trained to be. Release my son, right now. Rachel's voice cracked as she spoke. This is not what it looks like. Then explain it, he said, folding his arms. Because to everyone here, it looks like you just racially profiled, publicly humiliated, and attempted to arrest a 9-year-old boy for taking 1 piece of candy during a community event. I didn't know he was your son, she mumbled. Shaquille's eyes narrowed. That's not the part that matters. Rachel's face flushed. Her pulse was pounding so hard she could feel it in her ears. The judgmental stares, the shame, the cameras. It was too much. She took 1 slow step backward as if retreating might erase what just happened. Then she reached for her gun. It was a motion so quick, so jarring, that the air seemed to snap. Gun, someone shouted from the crowd. Shaquille didn't flinch, but Blaze and Thunder did. Blaze lunged first, his body launching forward like a spring uncoiled. Thunder followed a half-second behind. They didn't attack, not yet, but their growls turned thunderous, their movements precise, positioning themselves between Rachel and Malik. Don't, Shaquille barked. But Rachel was already shaking. The barrel of her weapon trembled in her grip, aimed squarely at the ground in front of the dogs, though her finger dangerously hovered over the trigger. Don't come any closer, she screamed. I didn't do anything wrong. You pulled a weapon on a child, Shaquille replied coldly. You're way past wrong. I was provoked. Set up. You humiliated me. You humiliated yourself, he said slowly, stepping between Malik and the barrel. And now you're 1 move away from making a fatal mistake. Rachel's hands were shaking uncontrollably now. The weight of the firearm seemed too much for her to handle. Her eyes darted left and right, as if searching for an exit that didn't exist. I won't go down like this, she whispered. You don't have to, Shaquille said, but you need to lower that weapon, now. The crowd watched in stunned silence, save for the clicking of phone cameras and a single toddler crying somewhere in the back. No one dared move. Thunder's low growl deepened. Blaze stood completely still, tail raised and muscles tensed. Malik hadn't spoken a word, but his hands were balled into fists, shaking at his sides. Please, he finally said. Don't shoot. Rachel's breath hitched. For a moment, her eyes met Malik's, and something shifted. Her arm wavered. The gun dropped an inch. Her mouth opened, as if to say something, an apology perhaps. Then Blaze barked. Loud, final. A sharp, commanding sound had cut through the moment like lightning. Rachel flinched. Her hands spasmed. The gun fired. A single shot rang out, striking the pavement inches from Blaze's paws. Shards of asphalt sprayed into the air. Screams erupted. Children ducked. Parents ran. Blaze didn't move. Shaquille did. He lunged. disarming Rachel with a practiced twist of her wrist that sent the weapon skidding across the pavement. She stumbled backward, but before she could recover, Thunder was already on her, pinning her to the ground with one strong paw against her shoulder. "Get off me," she shrieked, writhing. "Stay down," Shaquille commanded, "or he won't be so gentle next time." Nearby officers finally broke through the crowd. Two of them sprinted toward the scene, one scooping up the weapon, the other cuffing Rachel as Thunder stepped back on Shaquille's signal. She screamed, cursed and kicked, but there was no fight left in her, only desperation and fear. Shaquille knelt beside Malik, who hadn't moved. "Are you okay?" "I'm okay," Malik whispered, though his voice wavered. "You were brave." "So were they," he added, nodding toward the dogs. "They waited for your call." "I said enough like you taught me," Malik said. "They knew." Shaquille hugged his son tightly, breathing in the moment, letting the adrenaline drain just enough to feel human again. Sirens sounded in the distance. Backup was already on the way. News vans too, no doubt. The story was out. It couldn't be buried. Shaquille stood up, lifting Malik with him. He turned to the officers. "Take her in. Get her off this property. She endangered a minor, discharged her weapon near civilians, and acted in direct violation of protocol." The officer nodded. "Yes, sir." As Rachel was dragged away, kicking and crying about conspiracies and injustice, the crowd finally began to stir again. Someone clapped, then another, then more. Not wild applause, just steady, solemn recognition. Shaquille raised a hand to quiet them. "This shouldn't have happened today," he said. "This was meant to be a celebration. Instead, it became a test of who we are when no one thinks we're watching." He paused, looking around. "Some of us failed that test. But others, like my son, passed with honor." Thunder barked once. Blaze sat down at Malik's side. "And if nothing else," Shaquille added, "let today be the proof that no one is too small, too young, or too quiet to stand up to what's wrong." Malik smiled, proud, his fingers still clutching the leash. Above them, the wind blew softly, scattering a few jelly beans that had spilled onto the grass. Easter Sunday would never be the same again. But maybe, just maybe, it would mean something more. By Monday morning, the video had gone viral. Clips of the Easter event confrontation had spread across every major platform: Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, even late-night television. Hashtags like "Justice for Malik," "Blaze and Thunder," and "Racist Cop Exposed" were trending in all 50 states. News anchors debated the footage frame by frame. Civil rights attorneys weighed in, and community leaders called for Rachel K's immediate termination. But while the internet buzzed with outrage and support, Captain Shaquille Briggs had other priorities. He sat in the living room of his modest two-story home, hunched over a laptop, reviewing security footage submitted anonymously by nearby residents. Most of it was shaky, taken from phone cameras or doorbell cams, but together it formed a mosaic of truth, evidence that Rachel had been watching Malik long before the candy incident, circling the gazebo multiple times, eyeing only the children of color. In the kitchen, Malik sat at the table with a glass of orange juice, scratching behind Blaze's ear while Thunder dozed beneath his feet. "You okay, kiddo?" Shaquille asked, looking up from the screen. Malik nodded. "Yeah, you sure? I don't get it. Why did she hate me so much?" Shaquille closed the laptop gently and joined his son at the table. "Sometimes people carry hate they don't even understand. They hide it behind rules or uniforms. But the truth always shows, eventually." Malik stared at his juice. "Do I have to go back to school today?" Shaquille smiled gently. "Not today." "Today? You're going somewhere else." He slid a folder across the table. On the cover, Community Outreach and Youth Education Program, Special Session, Kids and Cops, Understanding Your Rights. Malik's eyes widened. "You want me to talk? Like in front of people?" "Not just talk," Shaquille said. "Share. Your story matters, and people need to hear it from you." Later that afternoon, at the same park where the incident took place, dozens of folding chairs were set up under the shade of the oaks. A banner hung across a makeshift stage. "Justice starts with us." Parents, kids, teachers, and even a few officers in plain clothes gathered to listen. Malik stood off stage with Blaze and Thunder beside him, their tails swaying like metronomes of reassurance. He tugged nervously at his collar. "You don't have to be perfect," Shaquille whispered from behind. "Just be honest. Malik took a breath and walked up to the microphone. "Hi," he said, voice small but clear. "My name is Malik Briggs. I'm 9, and yesterday I got arrested for picking candy." A few people chuckled, uneasy laughs, not mocking, but acknowledging the absurdity. "But it wasn't really about candy," he continued. "It was about how someone looked at me and decided I was dangerous, even though I'm just a kid." He paused. Blaze sat beside him, tongue lolling out. Thunder nudged his hand gently. "I didn't fight back. My dad taught me to stay calm. He also taught me commands to control our dogs. They protected me, but they didn't hurt anyone. They were just waiting for me to tell them what to do." Malik's eyes scanned the crowd. Dozens of faces, some tearful, others angry, all quiet. What happened was scary, but it also showed me something, that doing the right thing doesn't mean yelling or hitting. It means standing still, even when you're scared. It means saying enough when something's wrong. He stepped back from the mic, face flushed but proud. Applause erupted, not loud and rowdy, but long, heartfelt. A teacher in the second row wiped away tears. An officer clapped slowly, eyes downcast. After the event, parents approached Shaquille asking for advice, thanking him. One mother pressed his hand and whispered, "You raised a good man." Shaquille looked down at Malik, who was now giggling as Blaze licked his cheek. "I had help," he replied, nodding at the dogs. That evening, as the sun dipped below the treetops, Shaquille received a call from Internal Affairs. Rachel K. has been formally charged, assaulting a minor, discharging a firearm near children, and violating departmental conduct protocols. She's been terminated, permanently. Shaquille let out a long breath. "Thank you. We also reviewed your plan, that Easter event. Bold move. It wasn't about catching anyone," he said. "It was about showing who they are when no one's looking. And your son? He reminded me why we fight these battles," Shaquille said. "Not for ourselves, but for their future." The next day, news vans lined the street outside the Briggs household. But Malik stayed inside, building a Lego version of Blaze and Thunder, complete with tiny vests. "Are they going to make a movie about us?" he asked. Shaquille chuckled. "Maybe. But if they do, I want you to be the one who writes the ending." Malik grinned. "Then I'll make it a happy one." And as the two dogs curled up beside him, tail to tail like sentries, and the boy leaned back against his father's arm, there was, for a brief and beautiful moment, a kind of peace the world rarely gives to boys like Malik. But on this day at least, he had it. In a world where silence often feels safer, this story reminds us that standing up, no matter how small you are, can make a difference. Malik didn't need to yell or fight. He stood his ground with courage and calm, and the truth spoke for itself. Justice starts in the quiet moments when we choose what's right, even if it's scary. If this moved you, I'd love to hear your thoughts below. Your voice matters here. And if you believe in stories that reveal truth and spark change, join our community. Hit like, drop a comment, and subscribe. We're in this together.